Guys, welcome to this video. In this video, I'm talking about OOP. What exactly is OOP? I know some of us might have heard about OOP, but we tend to not to fully understand what OOP is. So in this video, I'm going to make you I'm going to explain what OOP is all about in the simplest way possible I can. We know that OOP is simply stand for object-oriented programming, like the name object. In this type of programming, we'll be dealing with object. We know what object is, like example, your car, for example, your school bag, your shoe, your clothes, these are objects. That's just basically what object-oriented programming is. As deals with objects, you can see it's a programming paradigm that focuses on objects to structure programs. These objects are modified after real-world things. Like I made an example like that of your car, your shoe, your clothes, even your earpiece, anything. And each of these objects must contain what is called an attribute and a method. What exactly are attribute? Attributes are the properties or characteristics of an object. Let's say what example of characteristics of an object. Like for example, when we talk about the size of an object, let's say, let me use car for example, like a vehicle. We know that a car must have a size, it must have a color, and it must have a name. It's not actually a must, but these are one of the properties that are characteristics of an object. So what exactly a method? These are the actions or behavior the object can perform. Like I may use the example of your car, for example. We know that a car can run. For example, using the run. Run is an action that an object can perform. And I know that a car can be considered as an object. So this is basically what attribute and the method is. Attributes are the properties or characteristics of an object that are like the size, the color, and a lot of other things. The name, these are the characteristics, and that of the method is like what can an object perform. An object, what can a car perform? Car can move around like the running and a whole lot of other things. So what are the goal of OOP? The goal of OOP is just simply is to make your code more modular, usable, and easy to maintain by grouping related data and functions into objects. So why in the world should I even make use of OOP? OOP makes your programming more intuitive and mirror real-world structures. Some of the benefits can be used in that of modularity. It can organize your code into classes and objects. And another one is the usability. Classes can be reused in different program or projects. They have the maintainability, easier to update and debug code because everything is nearly organized, or you can say neatly organized. The scalability, new features can be added without disrupting existing code. We also have a lot of them like the inheritability. We don't need to, most time when you declare your object, for example, you can just merely inherit from it without needing to construct it from the scratch again. So what are the core concept of OOP? OOP is built on major four principles, which are the encapsulation, the inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. So what is exactly is encapsulation? What exactly is inheritance? What is polymorphism? And what exactly is abstraction? So encapsulation means building data. The data can be considered as an attribute and a method as an action, like I've explained at the beginning of this video. You can group them together into a single unit called a class. It helps to number one thing it helps to do is to protect sensitive data by controlling access using public, private, or protective attributes. Also, the one it prevents external interference with the internal working of an object. This is just basically what encapsulation means. Like I said, it's bundling data, which their data you can call an attribute, and method, which are the actions together into a single unit. I also have the for a real life example, think of a TV remote bundles button. That button, you can call that button a method, and the settings, which are the attributes, into a single object. You can use the button to interact with it without worrying about how it works internally. These are just a quick real life example I can think of right now. So let's talk about the next one, which is the inheritance. Inheritance allows one class to acquire the properties and method of another class. I may mention when I was talking about why you should even use OOP. I talked about the inheritance, is the ability of another class to inherit what an initial class already have. So what are the key points about inheritance? We have the parent class or the base class. It contains general attributes, and the child class or derived class that inherits this property and can also have its own unique features. Let's take a real life example of what inheritance is. Think of an animal could be parent class with the subclass like a bird or mammal inheriting common traits, breeds, and adding specific traits like flies for birds. Example how most in this world are characterized by animals, and then inside the animal we have other child class like that of bird or mammals. So that's basically what inheritance means. Just know that one thing you should know about inheritance that a child class inheriting from a parent class. Also, we have the third one, which is the polymorphism. Polymorphism means many forms. It allows objects or different classes to be treated as an object of a common parent class. The same method name and can perform different actions depending on the object calling it. So one thing you should know about a polymorphism is to make the program more flexible and the extensible. Method with the same name can behave differently based on the object. So let's look at a real life example. Think of a vehicle could represent a car, a bike, or a boat. While all vehicles have the action move, the way they move is different, like driving, cycling, or sailing. You can also look at it, for example, like I've explained, mentioned earlier, like the vehicle. Like think of it that it could represent a car, and could represent a bike, or even a boat. While all the vehicles have the action to move, to return. This way they can move in different driving, cycling, or sailing. Um just allows many forms, allow object of different classes to be treated as an object of a common parent class. You can talking about is the abstraction. Abstraction is the concept of hiding complex implementation details and exposing only the essential features. It focuses on what an object does, rather than how it works. So, what are the key features of the abstraction? It reduces complexity and improves code readability. It can be achieved using abstract class or interfaces in Python programming language. Of a real life example is like when driving a car, you know how to use the steering and wheel, accelerator, and brake, but you don't need to understand the internal mechanism of the engine. Like I explained earlier, it's like hiding complex implementation details and especially the essential features. Most of us even know how about how cars work, but we tend to learn how to match the acceleration, revise, turn left and right, and do some other thing without actually knowing the complex implementation details. So this is just an example I can think of right now concerning what abstraction. To look at other important OOP concepts, we are going to begin with that of class. A class is a blueprint or template for creating an object. It defines the attribute and method that object or of that class will have. Let's think of have you seen an engineer holding kind of paper, engineer that want to build a house. You have seen him holding a kind of transparent paper. You can think of that as a blueprint to build a house. Like you can see it as a plan or the drawing of a house, a drawing of how the house is going to be structured. That's what we call a class. That's basically the basic explanation I can think of a class. We also look at the next one, which is the object. An object is an instance of that class. If the class is the blueprint, the object is actually house built using the blueprint. I think of it like I made mention of the car, for example. When I initially I used car, for example. I can think of car as an object, like I said, car is an object. The blueprint to write to how that car is being made, because before you can build something, it must have a blueprint, it must have a plan for that. So that's just what clearly an object is, just what was built from the plan or the blueprint. And also have is the attribute. Attribute are the data or properties associated with an object. For example, we have the car might have attributes like color and brand. I made mention of this initially. Each object tends to have what is called an attribute. An attribute is what or characteristics of that object. Like I mentioned earlier, a car can move. A car has size and a whole lot of other properties. And the next one looking at is the method. Method are the action or behavior of an object. I said mention of all this at the initial of this video. When you use the car, for example, a car can move, it can stop, it can accelerate, it can reverse, a whole lot of other things. You can consider all this as a method. And last but not least is the constructor. A constructor is a special method in the class used to initialize an object attribute when it's being created. When we start doing classes in Python programming language, I'm going to make use of this constructor. There are a whole lot of them, like the underscore init, str underscore integer. There are a whole lot of them. So we'll start making use of. When you start writing programs using the class, I'm going to understand what these constructors are. Let's know that constructor is a special method in a class used to initiate an object. Advantages of OOP, or object-oriented programming. How the code usability. Your code can be a code written in classes once, and it can be used in multiple places. What the modular code divides the code into smaller, manageable units, classes, and objects. We also have the enhanced security, and with the help of class, we can protect data using what the encapsulation, like I may mention earlier. I also have the reward model. It makes it easier to model reward program. Like when we talked about using cars can be modeled using classes. It also improve productivity. It reduces development time by promoting usable and the modularity. The recap of what we talked about in this video. We talked about what OOP is. We say that OOP is an object-oriented programming. OOP is a programming paradigm that organizes code around objects and classes. We talked about the core principles, which are the encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and that of an abstraction. We also talked about the advantages, where we talked about its improved code usability. We talked about the modularity, security, scalability, inheritance, and a whole lot of other ones. You can also think of OOP as a way to design your program like a real-world system, making it intuitive and efficient. So there's a whole lot of things we want to talk about OOP, but what we have to get our hands dirty is to be easier for us to understand and implement without only the theory part. So I think we have come to the end of the video. If you find the video helpful, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You can also you can share to your colleagues who might be interested in this video. So without further ado, so I'll be happy to see you in the next video where we're talking about classes. So see you in the next video.